Hello Team FD and welcome back to Winners and Losers. Now we're following up our Liverpool versus Manchester City analysis with a little something special on Mason Mount because he was the difference maker in Chelsea's victory against Aston Villa, wasn't he? Now we do have to establish that Mason Mount was great last season under Thomas Tuchel as well. 21 goals and assists in league play. It was a career best, but the Englishman did experience a noteworthy slump at the start of this campaign. No goal involvements in his first 10 League and Champions League matches, and that saw his sort of output fall to around a goal contribution every 4 games. And we know he's better than that as a player. But in comes Graham Potter and Mason Mount unlocked. Henry, why is that?
I thought you were going to do the Magic and Potter line for a second then. Alas,
opportunity missed.
There we go. No, listen, it's great to see Mason Mount playing that guy we saw really explode for Chelsea last season in terms of his output in the final third, which they really needed because he was the main source of goals, wasn't he? And it just looked like as things began to sour a little bit under Tuchel, that he began to bear the brunt of their sort of attack failing going forward. When Gallagher's playing, he had to drop in and play a bit deeper and do that kind of selfless defensive work, which he's noted for as well. But with Potter, I think he's really just been pushed way further forward again and given so much license to roam. I mean, Potter loves his interchangeable, fluid attack. He said that coming in to Chelsea, this is what he planned to do with the side this season, and I think Mount has sort of exemplified that new approach. He can slot in at number 10, play number 8, he goes out to the wings, and if you look at the heat maps of all of their forward line, really, Havertz included with Aubameyang and Sterling, they're all over the shot. They're bouncing left and right. We saw all 4 of those players line up against Aston Villa, which is a very attacking lineup, has to be said. But I think the ability to sort of drag defenders here, there and everywhere and open up space for Mount to get in the final third is really helping. And we've seen his last, 4 games, he's put in 2 epic displays against AC Milan. A man of the match performance at San Siro, and he only played 45 minutes, won the penalty, I think created an assist as well. We've seen 2 assists against at Wolves and then 2 goals in this game against Aston Villa. It must be said, a Mings error, really, shocking Mings error.
He was there to capitalise though, wasn't he?
He was in
always
the right
alert.
place. And then that free kick, a lot of people will say, quite rightly in my opinion, that Martinez should be doing better on that one, but still, you can't take anything away from Mount. And as you said, he's back in the right places, and I think this is really important. We've seen people get upset about shot-creating actions, but they've soared under Tuchel. He's getting more in the final third in that regard, and getting off more shots. His shots and key passes have absolutely soared under Potter, and he's also his passing accuracy as well is up at 80% in sort of 6 of the 7 games that he's featured.
And given he plays very adventurous balls, he plays ambitious balls in the final third, that is...
Under Tuchel, his passing was way
impressive.
down at the start of the season. His defensive numbers were sort of at the same level, but Potter loves him. Potter, he's exactly the kind of player that you can see excelling under the Englishman. He's praised his selfless runs, the way he drags defenders as well, and I think it's perfect for English football that Mount is back in this kind of form as well, just at the right time. He just looks a lot happier. There's a lot to be said about sort of the idea that Tuchel's relationship with some of his players soured towards the end of his time in charge there, and I just think a breath of fresh air in Potter coming in, and Mount is the beneficiary of that because he just looks a lot happier, he's playing far more aggressive, getting in the right places, and Chelsea are benefiting from that too, as the last few games have shown. Yeah,
Mount back to his surgical best. And you can imagine Graham Potter, a great communicator. Obviously, we get a little bit hung up on formation. You know, Potter, well-versed with the 3 at the back, obviously came in, Tuchel, having employed that, made things a little bit easier, but he's a manager that gives players really clear roles, isn't he, rather than being wed to a formation. I think we as fans probably get a bit hung up on formation, but what a start to life at Chelsea. 5 wins, 1 draw in all competitions, 5 wins on the bounce, McCubbin, 4 clean sheets. Can you sort of fill in the blanks as to what else Potter has done well in the opening exchanges of his Chelsea career?
I mean, yeah, I think Henry touched upon it there. I think this is a squad that I think when Graham Potter was offered this job, I think he would have looked at this squad and been like, this is a squad that suits what I want to do. It's got a plethora of attacking options, and like we saw at Brighton, where he kind of transformed players like Leandro Trossard and Solly March, putting them in kind of unconventional positions and making them a lot more influential than they had been earlier in their careers. I think Mason Mount is a perfect player for that. I think we're yet to see really the full potential of Pulisic and Havertz at Chelsea, and I think Chelsea fans are excited to see what he can do with those guys in the long term. But like you say, I think this has been a perfect start for him because in this game against Aston Villa, in another, if you played that game again, Villa might have even won that. Leon Bailey missed a good chance in the first half. Kepa made that extraordinary triple save in the first half too. They were outshot 18-8. That's not what you would expect from a Villa side which has been under the cosh this season. So in some ways, Chelsea got away with it in this game. But like you said, Hamill, they're still unbeaten. They've won their last 4 games by at least 2 goals and kept clean sheets in all of them. But a result like this, even if they weren't at their best, I think it buys him more time. It takes more pressure off. It allows him to experiment further with this forward line. We've seen Sterling deployed even at right wing back at points, which I personally don't think is his best position. But I think Potter is getting to know this squad, isn't he? I think there are still question marks about the defence. I think they were defensively quite weak today, and they were under Tuchel as well. I feel like that ideal back 3 hasn't quite gelled yet, but Kepa's in great form, so that's okay for now. The central midfield looks pretty strong. Obviously, he's got a technician like Kovacic in there, Ruben Loftus-Cheek.
Who Tuchel was missing at the start of the season, wasn't he, Kovacic, which was massive for Tuchel, lacking a real driving forward thrust in that midfield at the start of the season. But Loftus-Cheek back in as well, in his preferred position, which is big, a big shout from Potter. Yeah,
fantastic. And, I think, Loftus-Cheek has always been a player who's kind of threatened to go on a run, has never quite been given that game time. He's obviously had his critics over the years as well, but playing in the right position, I think will help him. I think there's still a lot of questions about what Potter's best team is going to look like in the long run. But I think so far, it's been very positive.
I think you make a good point. Like, it's easy to praise them while it's working, and this probably wasn't their best outing against an Aston Villa side absolutely desperate for points, who were throwing the kitchen sink at it. But maybe we can talk about players who he's salvaging their Chelsea careers a little bit more before we round this show off. So maybe Gallagher, who's had a little bit more purpose when he's been in the side under Potter. And of course, Tuchel did deploy floating 8s as well. That's where Potter has played him as well. But Pulisic, either of them caught your eye?
I will say about Gallagher, I think there was a lot of pressure on him because obviously he came back from his loan, had an exceptional season at Crystal Palace.
One player of the season, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. And when it started going wrong a little bit at Chelsea, he became a bit of the fall guy, got that red card, didn't he? And I think Chelsea's success at the moment is giving Gallagher the opportunity to get the minutes without having the spotlight on him so far. So he's been well managed by Potter in that regard. Actually, Pulisic, we haven't seen him have loads of minutes yet under the Englishman, certainly in the Premier League. So, but I do think he's the kind of attacker that would flourish under Potter and his sort of style. And we've done and explained on Nkunku potentially where he might fit in at Chelsea, which is worth having a look at because he's another player that floats around a lot, and you can see how Potter might get the best out of him. So I'm interested to see what Pulisic will go through. But to touch upon kind of what McCubb said about his days of Brighton, here was a side which didn't have a main goal scorer in it really. Mopé floated in and out of goal scoring form. Welbeck was doing a selfless job up front, and yet he managed to extract the maximum out of an intriguing set of attacking players, managed to grind out results. If he could do that with the Brighton side, just imagine what he can do with the Chelsea players he has at his disposal, where there are goals to be found.
Pulisic, only 2 starts, so you're right to flag, still a distinct lack of minutes. Resurrected his career, is probably overdoing it at current, but still 8 appearances in total as well, 2 goal contributions. And we're not even touched upon Broja, who has been used a little bit more from the bench than maybe I anticipated. Aubameyang has looked like he's kind of struggling in the last 20 minutes of games on several occasions.
I mean, the thing about Broja is he's a completely different forward to what they have at their disposal. So he can come off the bench if they need a target man, if they need someone big up front, sort of push the opposition defence back. He's that guy that they can bring on. So I think Broja is going to become more and more influential as this season goes on, as Chelsea look at different ways to try and unlock defences. I think he really does. This could be a mini making. I don't think he's going to get tons of minutes, but as we saw, he scored recently. He's making the most of what opportunities he's been given, and he is going to be a useful asset to that side.
Yeah, he will get minutes as well with Aubameyang. Like I said, from 70, 80 onwards, not really offering them the amount of pressing that Potter likes, the amount of harrying, and that is firmly within Broja's skill set, isn't it? He is physically extremely gifted and doesn't give the fullback, centre-back a moment's respite. That is it from us on Graham Potter unlocking Mason Mount. If you've spotted any of the tactical nuances that we've missed, let us know in the comments below. Like this video and subscribe to the channel with notifications on, and we'll catch you next week on Winners and Losers. Goodbye.